Good morning, everyone. Those who are joining live, it's lovely to see your names and faces, and those who are listening later. And I see that my very special Aunt Ellen has just jumped on. I was hoping you might come and start your birthday day with a mindful moment. Ellen's been one of my old faithfuls in that she's been, along with my mum, my two greatest supporters of my mindful moments. And so I really appreciate you being here and starting your day on your birthday, Ellen. And I wish you a very, very special and beautiful day and year. And what a way for it to start with a full moon, super moon, eclipse. I mean, I don't know, the stars are looking good for you this year. So sending you love and thank you for all you bring to my life. And we're going to just start. If you have a roller, especially if you've got something like frankincense, which is so good for slowing the breath and sort of inducing a meditative feeling, you can put that on. Rose is divine love. My mum's sitting next to me. Or breathe, a drop of breathe in your hands. Just something to anchor you, to draw your attention to your breath, to slow your breathing. I encourage you to use that. And today, as I mentioned, is this, it's a nearly full moon, but it's, the super moon, well, yeah, it is full moon, and it's a super moon because it's very close to Earth. It's the closest to Earth it will be in 2024, this year. And there was a partial lunar eclipse this morning. And I'm not sure whether I was alone in this, but it's such a powerful energy at the moment that I was so wide awake from about 3:30 and sort of dozed and things. And then decided to get up just after 4 and then was preparing for my mindful moment. I loved listening to Michelle McClellan. And she said, because she's based in South Africa, that the lunar eclipse will be at about 4:30 South African time. So I went out this morning and saw this lunar eclipse and ended up listening to her talk and doing a bit of a meditation while looking at this beautiful bright moon and this eclipse, partial eclipse. And in fact, I think the eclipse is still going. So the energy of the eclipse is still here, even though it's not visible to us because we're now in the light. So it is really worth listening to it. I loved it. It's only 20 minutes, if even. Might be less. And there's far too much for me to go into here about it. But it's, especially if you're thinking of doing the spring shed, it's really worth listening. And maybe if you're not thinking of doing it, it's really worth listening because it just reinforces how cosmically aligned and supported we are at this time to make very significant changes in our lives. There are huge cycles ending now, and this partial lunar eclipse is kind of ushering in the new. It's a little bit, I've once heard a lunar eclipse being described, or any eclipse, as, because it blanks out, it darkens the light for a time, and it's like us switching off our laptops or our computers, and that darkness, that deadness, that stillness, and then rebooting. So, and everything's less glitchy. It all works much better once it's actually had that reset. And the lunar eclipse is a little bit like that reboot. But at this time, a lot of old stuff might be resurfacing because it's the end of the old cycle. And it's that last gasp, last ditch, the darkest hours before the dawn. It's that energy. So old stuff may resurface, things, old feelings, emotions, patterns, blocks. You think, oh my gosh, are we here again? Lots of physical stuff, skin eruptions, or your old physical patterns. But this moon cycle particularly is all about healing, about letting go, about detoxing. So it's a time to let go physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. And Pisces is a water sign, which is all about flow and all about letting go. And so it's like the perfect time to shed our stuff, to shed our schmutz, and to let go and to allow it to flow. Because the spring shed isn't hard. It's not, I've had a few people messaging to say, want to sign up for the challenge. It's not really a challenge. We have the masculine energy of the boundary, of the detox okay, this is what I'm giving up. Maybe you're choosing to juice, maybe you're choosing to just cut out sugars and things, maybe you're going to do your own juices. That first week is very much focused on that, or the first few days to the first week. And then it's more about creating a healthful, vibrant life and creating flow. And I loved how Nikki Hatton, she and I hosted a Spring Shed Oils talk earlier this week on Monday, and we've got the recording, which we're going to share on our oils groups. But it's just a 30-minute class. And she described it as we weed. The first week is all about weeding out what we don't want. Then the next week is about seeding, planting, repropagating our guts, planting in our lives the things that we do want. And then we're feeding and nourishing that. The third week is about feeding so that this comes to fruition. And so, like, literally, it is so cosmically aligned with the moon cycle and what this moon is doing now for that weeding and seeding and feeding, that it is so astrologically supported. But there is also so much going on for all of us. I think we're all reeling. I know I certainly am. Thank you for all the lovely messages about my uncle and for messages of support for myself and our family. That was obviously quite a shock and surprise. And this time is also astrologically about shock and surprises. I've got 2 surprise birthday parties one was yesterday, one's meant to be today. Our Toyota Hilux was stolen unexpectedly from the Maritzburg Airport car park on Wednesday night, and that was a shock and surprise. Our second vehicle in 3 months. I'm sure if any of you reflect on things going on in your lives, there might be surprises and unexpected and things suddenly coming up. But there's also, in this last week alone, we've had guests, we've had events, we've hosted end of season parties, we've had exams, we've had plays, I've been doing makeup and decor. Colin had a tummy bug that came out of nowhere. It just, like, literally, he was driving and he felt it coming, and like as he was driving, and his was almost like a pop-up detox and reset. Like, it's just, but what I'm saying is, like, there is a lot for everyone. And so sometimes, the Spring Shed might not feel like the right time for you. Like, there's all too much. I can't focus on it. I can't give it the attention I want to. There's too much else going on. All those feelings can arise. We've got work, we've got deadlines, we've got a trip. We can fill in the blanks. There's just urgent everywhere in our lives at the moment. But this is actually our lives. This isn't just this month. This is what our lives are becoming more and more. And this is what the world is looking like more and more. Things are just happening at breakneck speed. And so we actually have to consciously choose what is important. What are the big rocks to put in our jar? I'm sure you've heard that analogy about putting in the important stuff first, and then the sand fills in the space. Whereas if we put in the sand, all the urgent stuff first, there's no space for the big rocks. And so if we don't do that, we'll inevitably be stopped in our tracks by something, by health, by loss, by a breakdown, physical or emotional. And so this Spring Shed we're making it accessible and bite-sized, because we too have very busy lives. We're traveling, Didi's overseas at the moment. We've all got our stuff going on. And when we realize that we can't all go on a retreat and reset that way. And so we're choosing to do it in small, bite-sized, accessible pieces that we can fit into our daily lives, wherever we might find ourselves. And this is the stuff the stuff we'll be doing in the spreadsheet. The Spring Shed is going to be what's going to keep us sane. It's going to keep us grounded and supported and well and living and thriving and living life lighter. So it's the important stuff. And we bring in food and different tools that we can use, different practices and different awarenesses. One of the tools that we're also going to learn is how to deal with the fear and the anxiety, the palpitations, the feelings of urgency as they come up. And we're going to talk about that a little bit more today. But we really hope you'll join us for the Spring Shed. It's not expensive. It's 650 Rand, which if you break it down over the 3 weeks is 30 Rand a day, which is like the equivalent of a cup of coffee. The juice fast is optional. you can choose to do it or not. You can choose to do your own juice. We'll be sharing recipes for juices and smoothies, but it is a specially curated one by the Juice Kitchen. They have put in special juices for gut replenishing or for detox and gut replenishing and gut health. And it's an assortment of ginger shots, juices, green juices, smoothies, and protein smoothies, which will allow us to have energy to continue in our daily lives. Even though we're doing a juice detox, we won't feel perhaps so sugary. It's not so like it's not as light as a juice detox. And there's also soups in it, and various things like that. So there's a little video on our Spring Shed webpage, which is Pure Republic Spring Shed. I'll be sharing it in the below here. And that explains the juice fast. So that's also really well priced, and you get a discount for doing it with a second person in your family. So if they're just sending 2 juice detoxes to you, you get a 15% discount, and obviously just 1 shipping. So it's really worthwhile to engage with the people in your home to do it, and try and encourage the men in your lives to do it, because we really, the whole Spring Shed, not just the juice fast, because we really are doing it to support men, because men don't have these spaces. There are not many men on this mindful moment. There are not many men with access to this sort of thing, and yet they have the stress, they have the anxiety, they want to feel better too. The oils are also optional. Nix and I discussed it in the Spring Shed class, which I'll also post below, and the videos are also on our website. You can find out more there and get the link and sign up and everything. And then once you've signed up, you'll get an email which gives you a link to the WhatsApp group that you can join. But all the content is going to be on this website as well. So you don't have to be, you can be as engaged in the WhatsApp group as you want to be. And it will show you how to order the juice fast and a bit more about the oils. Yeah, so I invite you to come and shed your stuff and live life lighter with us. So just for today, we're focusing on fear and anxiety coming up in our lives and our bodies. And even as we think about doing the Spring Shed, we might feel like, I don't know how I'm going to do this. There's just too much, or I don't know how things are going on. And we can notice this arising in our bodies, noticing our fear and our anxiety, and actually naming it. So it's here, but it isn't us. It's with us, but not part of us. So we actually distance ourselves from it. And the way I find this best to do is, I just love the analogy. I heard Elizabeth Gilbert talked about it once, and an analogy of a road trip. And so we're in our car, that is our life, going on the journey of our life. And we're in the driving seat and we're going along. And all of a sudden we feel this anxiety or fear, like gripping our hearts, taking over like this. We feel this tightness in our chest or these palpitations. And we notice it and we look down, we pause and we breathe. Oh, here's fear. I can feel fear. I can feel anxiety. And you look down and notice it, and you notice it's like a little gremlin, like a little chap like Dobby from Harry Potter. He's a little bit like desperate to take over and protect you. He's like all over the show. He's this little chap. He wants you safe. He's trying to control everything. So when we can put a face or some sort of image of what fear looks like for us, or anxiety, we can realize that he's outside of us, and we can acknowledge him like a child, or like Harry used to contain Dobby and say, it's okay, Dobby, you know, it's going to be okay. So we take fear and we say, I see you. I know you're just trying to keep me safe. Thank you for that. But you cannot be in the driving seat. I'm going to put you here in the passenger seat, and I'm going to put on your seatbelt. You're here with me. I can feel you, but you can't drive. You can maybe at most change the music, but I'm doing the driving. So noticing and seeing him and thanking him, and then pausing and settling back into our breath. And these are also the little practices that we'll do in the Spring Shed. And we're going to do the practice now as we settle into our mindful moment. So I invite you, if you're able to, just to Notice your feet on the floor, your seat in the chair, yourself just grounding and settling where you are now. Just taking a few deep breaths and following them into your body as they invite you to go into yourself, into your body, and just to see how you are there today. Notice if that little gremlin of fear or anxiety is holding you in your heart space or in your lung space, in your chest, or whether there's a feeling of expansion and openness. Just noticing what's here today and following each breath. As I read this beautiful poem by Khalil Gibran. It is said that before entering the sea, a river trembles with fear. She looks back at the path she has traveled, from the peaks of the mountains, the long winding road, crossing forests and villages. And in front of her, she sees an ocean so vast that to enter there seems nothing more than to disappear forever. But there is no other way. The river cannot go back. Nobody can go back. To go back is impossible in existence. The river needs to take the risk of entering the ocean, because only then will fear disappear. Because that's where the river will know it's not about disappearing into the ocean, but of becoming the ocean. So just allowing these words to settle into your body. And if sounds around you, noises, movement distract you, just noticing it and just returning to your body and to your breath. Just taking a breath in, noticing it coming in through your nostrils, through to the back of your throat, feeling it entering your chest, and right down into your belly. And then noticing the letting go of the exhale. So with every breath, there's the expansion and then the letting go. Just like we have the expansion in nature, the expansion of the full moon, and then the letting go to the stillness and the darkness. And just allowing your attention to settle into your heart space, the middle of your chest, place where you find your heart and lungs. And using this as your anchor. So with every breath, just keeping your attention here. When thoughts start to drift or wander, just noticing it and guiding it gently back. Noticing what you find in your heart space now. Perhaps there's a feeling of dysregulation, of uppityness, of jitteriness, of unsettledness. And I invite you, if it feels comforting and if you'd like to, just to rest your hands on your heart space. And then just to take a few breaths into your heart space, as if you're breathing directly in and out of your heart space. allowing thoughts to drift away so that you're just focused in this moment of the feeling of breath coming straight into and straight out of your heart space. And following this in your own time, fully in and out for the next 5 or so breaths. Noticing into your heart space now, feeling into the sensation there, and noticing if there feels like there's more regulation, more coherence, just from these few breaths. And continuing in your own time and space, just a long, slow inhale. And then an exhale, a letting go directly into your heart space. And then inviting a sensation, a feeling of gratitude into this heart space. Not going into thought of what you're grateful for, but just inviting that feeling of being grateful, of a full heart, of a warmth in your heart space into your heart. And just breathing into that for the next few breaths. Thoughts start to drift, just bringing them gently back to your heart space, to this feeling of gratitude. And noticing the regulation in our bodies as we do so. Not having to change our thoughts, make things externally better. Just noticing this moment of pause, this moment of replenishment, of restoration, of coherence. And just sitting in the space for a few more breaths. Either with your hands on your chest or just resting in your lap. It is said that before entering the sea, a river trembles with fear. She looks back at the path she has traveled, from the peaks of the mountains, the long winding road, crossing forests and villages. And in front of her, she sees an ocean so vast that to enter there seems nothing more than to disappear forever. But there's no way back. The river cannot go back. Nobody can go back. To go back is impossible in existence. The river needs to take the risk of entering the ocean, because only then will fear disappear. Because that's where the river will know it's not about disappearing into the ocean, but becoming the ocean. And so feeling this ocean of connectedness between us, that image that we had a few weeks ago of our heart space, ourselves being like a bubble, and all of us being like golden bubbles, light, all connected through the space, through this mindful moment, and all connected with our loved ones all over the world. So this bubble of light reaches out beyond us into our community, into our communities, to our loved ones, and all over the world, like-minded and like-hearted people practicing this, ushering in the new, ushering in the new world, the better world, the world for the people. Just taking a few last breaths through your heart space. And in your own time, when you're ready, just moving into your fingers and toes, elbows, wrists, shoulders, knees. And when you're ready, just gently opening your eyes, taking in colors and light, names and faces. And thank you for being here together. Wish you a blessed day and week. And as always, I'd love you to share something in the chat if you'd like to, or unmute and share something. And if you need to rush off, just to take that peace in your heart with you. May you have a blessed birthday again, Ellen. There are lots of people not sleeping last night. Yeah, we also had rain overnight, but then a beautiful clear morning. Now, please feel free to unmute. Thank you all. And Pippa's doing her final drama practical for her final matric exams. It's actually today, which is quite early, but they have the examiners come and we can go and be there in person. So we are going to be going, Colin, myself, and my folks. And if you have a moment just to hold her in your heart space today, and her drama friends, and just pray for the highest possible outcome, that they can do their best performances. So thank you all. Thank you, Sue. Thanks, Cand. Thanks, Cheryl. Sending love, and see you next week. And I'll post the link for the spreadsheet below, and please also forward it to loved ones and friends who also need to feel better, also may need containment and tools and support and a community, and that's everything that we'll be providing. Send you all love.